How's it going, guys? It's Anfield here. Welcome to my AMX50B guide video. This video is designed to be paired with the third mark session video, so if you've watched that or haven't watched that, you can watch it after this. If you have watched it, then this should give you supplemental information, help you with how to set the tank up, and more specifics about how to play the tank. Of course, the AMX50B is my favorite tank in this game, and when played correctly, it can be a highly rewarding tank and very fun to play. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm showing you guys here is just a bit of how to use the 50B's ramming capability in order to supplement damage. Obviously most tier 10s have much more than 1600 hit points, which is your maximum clip potential. So obviously you want to make sure all the shots count, but on top of that you want to be able to ram sometimes. It's not always good to ram, but a lot of times you can use ramming because you're so good at ramming in the 50B to supplement your damage and get a kill when you may not be able to do so otherwise. So this next thing is pretty obvious to most people, but I see lots of people not doing it. It's basically just shooting the front row wheel on tanks as they come around corners. You can keep them tracked to get your full shot, full clip worth of damage and keep them immobilized. Another thing I see a lot is people that want to get their full clip worth of damage out when it's not safe to do so. So in this case you can see there's an IS-7 here. Let's pretend that he's dealing with something, and obviously this is on my second computer so I can't control the IS-7 at the same time. But he may want to turn immediately to try and shoot me, so I want to only get a couple shots off and back up to safety. Another thing I see autoloader players do a lot is try to deal with tanks that are just far too well defended, such as this IS-7 in this situation. There's no way I'm going to do any kind of damage to him, and he's in a really good spot that he can do damage to me. I can't return fire, so I need to come out, notice that there's no way I can do any damage, and immediately pull back, recognizing that I cannot deal with that situation. So the 50B has an extremely good gun, unlike say the Batchat for example, which allows it to snipe, which is really a useful trait for an autoloader like this because it doesn't have any armor, so being on the front line isn't that great. So anytime that you can get in a position where you can do a lot of damage from distance, the gun will allow you to do so, and doing 1600 damage without any fear of return fire is quite a satisfying feeling. You can see just how good the 50B is at sniping here. So if gold makes you angry, look away now. This is using APCR to pen high-angled shots on such an IS-4 for example, but also useful for like E100 turrets. If you don't like firing gold, you don't have to fire gold if you don't want to, but the 50B packs a very powerful punch with this APCR. It's super high pen. It doesn't have heat, which is more unique among these kind of tier 10 heavies, but APCR is very good, and you know when to load it because it's a tool that's out there for you to use. The AP is good, but APCR is very good for things like this. This is AP on the exact same angle in the exact same spot, and as you can see, just not good enough to get through the armor there. So know when to use which round. So if APCR gets your jimmies rustled, AP is still a very good round on this tank. Just make sure that you know exactly where to shoot and how to shoot the tanks to make sure you give yourself the best chance to penetrate. So to put some of these skills into practice here, you can see there's an E5 up here and a T69. Obviously I don't have enough clip potential to kill them both, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shoot the T69 initially. Of course RNGesus says no, but you can see there the RAM allows me to do a lot more damage, and I can get at least one shot into this T110E5 before I'm done. The next little sequence of events here is that now if I go back on this, I actually should have chased up there, but whatever. Anyway, this 140 is here. I'm going to dive into this road here to try and avoid him for as long as possible. I need to buy myself some time. The WZ is there. I'm not going to really make it that far before I'm going to get shot at, so at least I can avoid the WZ shooting me if I tuck in here. And I'm going to reload just in time. Now there you go. Again, I'm shooting the tank that I can most easily get rid of first, eliminating guns out of the game, and then I can destroy the 140 as well. So basically just showing you there how to target prioritize, which target requires you to shoot first. Obviously you want to eliminate guns first. So moving into the hangar for tank setup, you can see that I have improved ventilation. Vents is just really generally useful. You guys know by now why I use vents, just to improve everything to do with the crew, especially when you have an autoloader. It can help bring down that reload as well. So next up we have vertical stabilizer. This is the most important module or piece of equipment you can put on the AMX50B. That just basically permanently shrinks the reticle by 20% regardless of what you're doing, which is well, incredibly useful for a tank like the 50B to keep that, especially because you do so much on the move firing. Vertical stabilizer is a godsend for this tank. So next up we have coated optics. Optics, just to improve the view range, basically allows you to do some of your own spotting, and you can, clip out tanks real quick as you can see them before they can see you, things like that, which is quite useful for this tank. Your other option is to go GLD. But I just think the gun is good enough that it doesn't need a GLD. You can see the sniping. I mean, it's fast enough aiming without the GLD, and it's still 10%. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. So personally, I would go optics. So next up is the service tab. First up, we have basically my cheap setout. This is what I use when I, have already third marked the tank. Obviously, I don't want to try hard for damage to game anymore. So just a nice, comfortable setup, which will make me a good amount of money. This, of course, is probably not what I would go for if you're really tryharding for marks or anything like that, but if you just want to play the tank comfortably, this is more than enough for what you will need. Although if you want, you can drop the HE shells. It just has so many shells for 50B, unlike, say, a batch out of 57, that you can carry the HE, I feel, comfortably, but it's up to you. So next up is the loadout. I used the 3 mark the tank. You can see the ammunition basically hasn't changed whatsoever. The consumables, however, have changed. You can see that I've upgraded to large repair and first aid kits. I shouldn't need to explain why. However, you can see that I have swapped the automatic fire extinguisher for strong coffee. Strong coffee is very, very useful. Same way vents is useful, so it's just basically boosting the tank. It does take the risk of dropping the fire extinguisher, and it is a little bit fire prone if you do get shot on the back. Most of the time that's artillery that's doing that for you. Other than that, most tanks won't shoot you there, or you shouldn't allow them to shoot you there. Your front plate's very strong though, and people do shoot you in the turret, which is obviously much weaker, and that takes out your gunner a lot, which is why I keep the first aid kit, because I think it's more useful for that. So it's a bit of a risk, but you of course can do what you feel comfortable with. So look away now if you're triggered by gold rounds, but this is the most expensive setup that you can take for the 50B, but admittedly, it is the best. AP to APCR. APCR is generally a direct upgrade, unlike going to Heat, which is a different kind of mechanic round altogether. The 50B obviously has very good APCR, so if you really want to go for it and you have a lot of credits to sink through, you can run full APCR in the 50B. And finally, onto the crew. Most of this stuff is pretty common on a lot of tanks, you guys, so it's not really going to be anything special. You can see that I have 6th Sense. Again, I mean, everything needs 6th Sense, so that's the only one that needs to definitely be on there first as soon as it's trained to 100%. After that, you can see I also have Brothers in Arms, and I think Brothers in Arms is an extremely useful skill, especially for autoloaders, so you can get it quite early, even earlier than you might get on some standard fire tanks. Basically to bring down that reload, as well as also just generally improve the tanks the same way Strong Coffee and also Vents does. So it's very useful to have Brothers in Arms, and you can get that quite early. Everything else is pretty standard. I have Repairs because I just think Repairs is more useful than Camouflage for the 50B. You're generally going to get spotted. You can't really utilize camo that often. So Repairs is useful in combat when you get tracked on the move and you want to get out of there quickly. You can also see that I have Recon on the Commander. That's just to get a little bit of extra view range going for the 50B to increase my camo detection as well, to go alongside the optics choice. You can go Jack of all trades if you want, especially if you're planning on moving the Strong Coffee over the med kit. And you can see that I have firefighting training. That's because I used to have Strong Coffee on, and that's just to sort of mitigate the factor. But you might not have a crew nearly close to being that well trained, so... moving on to the gunner and the driver, which have the most useful skills as per usual. I have Snapshot and Deadeye with, I think that's armor being trained. So Snapshot basically, try and help with the reticle and aiming. Deadeye, because I have an autoloader, you want to get those critical damages, ammo racks and other things like that. You want to basically cripple your enemy. So with an autoloader, Deadeye is very useful. Armor, because your gun actually does get damaged because you get shot in the turret so much, because that's the weak point of the tank. You lose your gun sometimes, so it's nice to have that being there for you. Onto the driver, I have Smooth Ride, and Smooth Ride, because you're moving so much in the 50B, it's very useful. You could of course have Controlled Impact, which I have training in that position for the ramming bonus. And you can see that I have Off-Road Driving, which is a must in the 50B, I think, because you move around so much, you need to be quick. so off-road driving. Finally, on to the radio operator. Situational awareness, again, boost that view range. Safe stowage, you get ammo racked a lot if you get shot in the side, say through the front road wheel, so you want to make sure that you can kind of lower that factor as much as possible and keep that ammo rack up, because you do not want to be ammo racked in an autoloader. So that wraps up my guide to the AMX50B. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found it informative as well. If you haven't already, check out the AMX50B third mark session, which is actual full replays with commentary on the 50B. So if you're really looking to improve on this tank after watching this video, go ahead and check that one out too. So thanks again for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and I'll see you guys in the next video.